Lee brushed a quick kiss over his mouth before calling to her boys. "Time for bed. Let's head upstairs and I'll hear your prayers." 6-year-old Brand was asleep, tucked up beside his 2 younger brothers. Their room was in the attic of the ancient ranch house they now called home. Something had disturbed Brand's sleep, and he now lay listening to the creaking of rotted timbers above his head. His father had said that this house may be more than 100 years old, but it was sturdy enough to give them shelter until he could finish the new house he was building on the other side of the rickety barn. His pa said they were lucky to be able to buy this ranch, located right next door to his family ranch. By merging the two, the Merrick family would own one of the biggest spreads in Wyoming. Just thinking about his ma and pa asleep in the big bedroom downstairs had Brand smiling as he began to slip back into sleep. The creaking of the timbers grew louder, and Brand sat up, wondering at the other sound. The wind? If so, it was howling loud enough to blow the house down. Through the closed curtains, he saw a strange orange glow, and he rubbed his eyes before slipping out of bed and crossing to the window. Fire! Flames were licking along the outer wall, and bits of burning wood and shingles were flying through the air, landing like gunshots above his head. He could hear the crackling sound that told him the roof was already on fire. "Casey! Jonah!" Brand was shaking his brothers roughly, pulling aside the covers and forcing them both to a sitting position. Though they weren't yet awake, he started dragging them toward the door. When little Jonah whined and dropped to the floor, Brand picked him up. Staggering beneath the load, he half carried, half dragged his 2 little brothers down the stairs until they reached the closed front door. Leaving them there, he raced to his parents' room, shouting for them to wake up. "Ma! Pa!" He started tugging on his father's arm until Bo sat up in a daze. After a punishing dawn-to-dark workday, it was no wonder Bo had to struggle to focus. There were never enough hours in the day. Sleep was a luxury he often did without.
"What's wrong? Are you crazy, son?"
"Fire, Pa! It's up on the roof!" Bo was out of bed and stumbling toward the door, all the while shouting to his wife,
"Lee, wake up! There's a fire!"
She sat up, struggling to get her bearings. Suddenly, she bolted out of bed. "The boys! They're okay, Ma." Relieved that his parents were awake and ready to take charge, Brand raced out of their bedroom and hurried to where he'd left his little brothers. Jonah had fallen asleep. Casey was sitting beside his little brother, looking completely bewildered by the smoke swirling about the room. "Come on!" Brand threw open the big front door and was buffeted by a rush of wind. He grabbed Jonah by one hand and Casey by the other, dragging them outside. Despite their protests, he continued dragging them clear across the yard before shoving them into their pa's truck for safekeeping. Unsure whether or not to leave his little brothers alone, he stood shivering outside the vehicle, watching for his parents. To a boy of 6, the next few minutes seemed like an hour. Finally, after shouting to Casey to stay inside the truck with Jonah, he ran toward the house, shouting, "Pa! Ma, where are you?" At first, he stepped inside. All he could hear was the roar of the fire, sounding like a train bearing down on him. Cowering in the doorway, he cupped his hands to his mouth and continued shouting. A flash of lights had him turning as a truck came barreling across a flat stretch of meadow and came to a screeching halt alongside his father's truck. The doors opened, and Brand's grandparents came rushing toward him, followed by his great-grandfather and his Aunt Liz. Graham Meg wrapped her arms around Brand, gathering him close.